Welcome to the Even Better podcast, where your host, Sinikka Waugh of Your Clear Next Step, brings you exciting content about making communities better by helping people get even better at work.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Even Better podcast. This is Sinikka Waugh, your host, and I'm delighted to welcome you today. And thank you so much, Dorice Horenstein. Thank you, Dorice, for being here.
I am delighted. I was looking forward to it all week. So here you go.
It's so much fun. So if you are just joining us, you may not know Dorice. If you are in the BA community here, the business analysis community here in central Iowa, where I live and work, you've likely heard of Dorice. You have seen her at IBAD as a speaker and at a couple other events. You have been blown away by her energy. You have been delighted by her presence. So I've had a chance to hear from Dorice. I got a chance to rub elbows with her a couple of times now at speakers tables and in preparation for events. We did a virtual event together and we did a live and in-person event together. And I just delight in Dorice's energy. I delight in her commitment to the audience that she is serving in the moment, right? To bringing out the best in others and to helping them be their best selves. So that's what I've seen of her authentically and live and in person. And so let me tell you a little bit about who she is. She is an author, a published author, and just her best-selling book. We're going to learn a little bit more about her book, Moments of the Heart, 4 relationships everyone should have to live wholeheartedly. So we'll hear more about her book today. She is a certified positive intelligence coach and trainer. She served as an officer in the Israeli army. She has years of leadership experience in the education field. She delights audiences when she connects with them. And as a person in one-on-one and in small group conversations, she finds a way to connect as a human. And I just find this to be really, really delighting. And so, Dorice, thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh. I mean, if people could see me right now, I'm just like tearing up with all these beautiful things you said about me. We have to make sure, that I keep that recording on a repeat. That is so beautiful. So thank you. I'm literally honored to sit here and talk to you. Such a beautiful person inside and out, successful in everything that you do. I'm just honored. Thank you for giving me this opportunity for other people to hear our conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so excited. So I sometimes our conversations are really, really brief because we're, bumping into each other in the hallways or being, pulled off into the next thing that we have to present or the next thing we have to do. And so I haven't had a chance to really dive into your story about your book and how it came to be and the background there. And I want our audience to have the chance to hear more about your book and then how it ties to what you're doing today. So for those, I'll pause because I know some of our listeners are like, wait a second, Sinikka, you talked about that title, Moments of the Heart. That sounds a little fluffy. Bear with us here, where this is like, these are helping us have even better work days. Sinikka, Moments of the Heart are we still talking about work days? So with that as my minor little caveat, I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about the book and Dorice, set our listeners at ease, set their minds at ease.
Well, Moments of the Heart. First of all, do you have moments during your day? At work, you must have some moments. And do you take your heart with you? I would hope you do. So Moments of the Heart is definitely for you to have a better day at work and at home with your colleagues, with your loved ones, with your children, with your spouse, with everything. So a little bit about me. I'm going to take so now I put you at ease, I hope. Let's go back into who Dorice is. I came to the United States from Israel, as you said, and I've lived here for over 30 years. In 2015, my youngest sister, I have 4 other siblings. My youngest sister was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer at the age of 38. And I was living in the Portland, Oregon, and she's all the way in Israel. So I'm thinking, what can I do? Because we're very close family. What can I do to help her during this time when she's 10,000 miles away from me? And what came up to me is that I should do videos on Facebook that are encouraging, that are inspiring, that could lift her up. And that was my intention. And I've done it every single Saturday in 2015. Every single Saturday night, I would put this video. At the end of that year, I looked back on all the videos and I thought, okay, what am I going to do with those videos? And someone smart suggested, oh, why don't you just write them down and maybe one day they will become a book. Never thought that this will become a book. But I said, oh, great idea. I'll write them down. So I wrote it all out. And then it was literally video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4. And I spread them all out on the carpet one night. And I thought, okay, what is the connection between all of these? And then I thought, oh, they're all talking about relationships. And then my husband was so happy to walk by, see me surrounded by this paper. And I said to him, okay, honey, they're all about relationships. How would I, divide them? And he said, well, you call your podcast or your YouTube, when I was doing that, Moments of the Heart. The heart has 4 chambers. Maybe you can divide it to 4. And I thought, oh my God, how can you be so smart? Why didn't I think about that? So then I thought, okay. And that was the impetus of my book. And I want you and your audience to think of the 4 relationships that you believe are crucial to have so that you would live wholeheartedly. And I want you to imagine that in a heart shape or even maybe in a boat. Think of a boat with 4 levels of the boat. Okay, the first level, second level, the first one has no windows, no nothing. That is the first relationship. If I were to ask you what it is, what would you say? And I'm going to let you, what do you think, Sinikka?
That first relationship, that better be with myself, shouldn't it?
You got that. The first relationship is the relationship that we have with ourselves, is how do we love ourselves? How do we show empathy to ourselves? It's how do we listen to the inner voice within us of what should be the next step? It's that awareness level of who we are in this world, in this journey. So if you are at work, who you are at work. Is it the same person of who you are at your home? And if it's not, why? No judgment here, just curiosity. Why is that? Why do you show a different side of you here and a different side of you there? Just that level. So then you go into the next level, the next chamber, second level of this ship. There are some windows, it's no longer in the belly of the ship. You're going one level up. And that is if I pause here and I ask you, what do you think is the second relationship? And some people will say, relationship with my spouse, relationship with my children. And I say, all of it is right. It's the relationship with other people. Mm-hmm. Whether they are your family, your colleagues, the cashier in the bank, the grocery store cashier person, anybody. Second level is how do you connect with them? So as you listen to the Even Better podcast, think of yourself in relationship with other people. How do you build this healthy relationship with the person next to you, whoever that may be? Okay. And then I go into that. And then the third level of the ship, you're up above, maybe you got a balcony going, you're not yet on the top. You can hear that I just came back from a cruise, right? And that level is what I call the relationship with the it. And the it is anything that it's outside of your control. Mm. Anything. So for some people, they call the it God. They call the it the spirit. They call it the karma or the universe. That thing. So when we say to somebody, oh, Sinikka, I will meet you tomorrow at 5 p.m. We're going to go happy hour. How do you know that 5 p.m. actually comes? You don't, right? You have that relationship with something else that reassures you. So as you work in your day, what is your relationship with the unknown? With the unknown. Mm-hmm. And how do you develop trust and connection with that? Mm-hmm. And that brings me up to the fourth level, which I think is the most incredible level of all of it. Because from that level, you can see the horizon. From that level, you know how to swim or how to get your boat through this ocean called life, right? Because this is what the analogy that we're doing here. So what is the fourth relationship? And I think very few people get that. When I ask that question, there's like, oh, I don't know what it is. So I would love to pause and say, okay, let's take guesses. What could it possibly be? The fourth relationship. What do you think? What comes to your mind, Sinikka?
Possibilities with the future, with the
possibilities. I love that. I love that. What I call the fourth relationship is the relationship that I have with the events that happen in my life. Is how, when things happen, how do I move forward? Or do I move forward? And I want you to think of the events in your life as like the waves on this cruise that we're taking, right? And some waves are big waves. And, you may go under. Some waves are tiny. Some events that are happening to you are small. So you keep on bobbing your heads. Your boat keeps on going, no problem. But sometimes these waves, they get you under. So how do you get back up? How do you get back up? And this is, so that is my book. And because I come from 30 years in Jewish education, my book is very rich with Jewish wisdom to illustrate this roadmap that we're taking. So people who are Jewish can read it and enjoy it, and people who are not Jewish can read it and enjoy it. Whoever wants to get that wisdom and also that roadmap. So that is a very quick way about my book. And so there's chambers, and within each chambers, there are these pieces. So can you, in an even better podcast, relate to these 4 chambers as you work, as you go to work, as you do the holy work that you do?
Absolutely. Oh, lovely. Lovely. So from that book, which was inspired in this moment, originally not at all, originally an act of service for your sister, very personal, became now this very sort of global thing. Now you've moved from that, you've shifted out of that, and not out of that, but you've shifted directions, and now you're doing work in a space where you're coaching and training as a certified positive intelligence coach and trainer. So part of what we're going to be talking about today is these connections between that book and the chambers, if you will, and the work that you did in that book, which originally was moments, right? These moments of the heart, but drawing those connections between that part of your life and that part of your experience, your lived experience, and now the work that you're doing professionally. So you called out 3 very specific connections here, and I think they're really, really valuable. And so let's take us through those 3 connections. The first one is around relationships. So you took us through the 4 levels of relationships, but relationships in particular, that was the first one, that connection there. So let's unpack that a little bit. How does relationship tie as that connection between the book and positive intelligence coaching?
Okay, so positive intelligence coaching is a system that is incorporating 4 different sciences: positive psychology, cognitive psychology, neuroscience, and performance science, to create this concept that is now known as positive intelligence. There is a founder, his name is Shirzad Shamin, and he wrote a book, Positive Intelligence. I became aware of this work in March of 2020. And you know what happened in March of 2020? The world collapsed. So here I was going to talk about my book and travel around the country and talk about my book, and I wasn't unable to. So someone, and again, the relationship with the unknown, brought to me and says, oh, maybe you should take this course about positive intelligence. And I had nothing else to do. So I said, okay, I did, because all my speaking was canceled. And what I noticed is that there was so many connections. We'll talk only about 3 today, about the positive intelligence, which is all about how do you overcome challenges? How do you move your mind, your brain, from negative emotions to positive emotions? And with the 3 goals in mind: 1, better wellness; number 2, healthy relationships; and number 3, higher productivity and success at work. Okay. So being in a healthy relationship is one of the key outcome that we get when we practice positive intelligence. Now, for the audience who does not know, how do you practice positive intelligence and all, we have a system, and it's an operating system, how to move your brain waves from left side to right side, from negative to positive, to how do you break a habit? And we call it, you do it through something that we call a PQ, positive intelligence quotient. And that's done through breathing, through connecting to the present, to the here and now, to our bodies, to our auditory, to our taste, to, as I said, to sound. And so when you do that, you will create a better relationship. For example, you are at work or at home, you get upset with someone's comment. It insults you, it offends you, or maybe you just don't agree with it. And maybe your first reaction is to jump up and say, well, that's a bunch of baloney. I'm not agreeing with this. This is not good. And who are you to tell me that? And you become maybe defensive. Oh my God, don't we all, right? You become defensive. Sometimes maybe you have this negative feeling about these individuals. So positive intelligence is telling you, okay, let's stop right now, and do the PQ so that you will open your mind, your right side of the brain, to more curiosity, more empathy about how you're going to deal with that person. You do not want to destroy that relationship. Sometimes it's a spouse relationship, a colleague relationship, something you really do not want to ruin for a long time. So how do you do that? And it gives you that method. So while in my book, I was talking about inspiration, in the positive intelligence, they took the tools and the tips to get you there in that healthy relationship. That's how the first connection is about relationships.
Yeah. So I think you're moving us right to the second connection, which is that movement from negative to positive, right? That's exactly. that connection there between the negative and the positive. So let's go there.
Yeah. So the number 2 connection is in my book. You can imagine the negative feelings that I had, that my sister had, that people who have been watching those YouTubes suffering from cancer or suffering from other things. I don't know how many people called me and said to me, oh, Dorice, I just lost my husband. I just lost my dog. I just lost this. I'm feeling so bad. And your book is standing by my side, the side of my bed, because I read it and it makes me feel a little bit better. So we all have those negative emotions, maybe not to that extreme, but you have that negative emotion. So in my book, I talked about how you show more empathy. How do you become less judgmental? How do you have a little bit more benefit of the doubt? All that through inspiration. And here's positive intelligence comes and tell us from the neuroscience perspective, when we are in that left side of our brain, when we experience negative emotions, we are unable to access the curiosity and the compassion. We are just not capable of doing that. And I think a lot of us don't know that. I did not know that. I thought, oh God, I'm pissed off at this moment, but I'm going to be better. I'm just going to march my way and I'm going to do it. No, right? Because you have this knot in your stomach. So you got to work on how do you create new neural pathways so that more things will open up for you. And when I did that for myself, because that's the first thing, right? You do it for yourself, and that's connect to the third part. And then when I did it with my clients, I saw how more avenues it opened up for them. Possibilities and opportunities that they didn't think existed became into their awareness. Because when we always talk negatively to ourselves, when we have that self-talk in our brain, things will not be good, it will not work out, I will surely fail, who am I to succeed? And I think many people, I don't want to make assumption, but a lot of people have those doubts in their mind, and how to move forward. And when you have that, there is no way that you can then come in just like that to the other side of your brain saying, oh yeah, I have doubts, but I'll make it. You got to do the work to prepare yourself for that. It doesn't just happen. And I think that's what positive intelligence offers. It doesn't just happen. And then they took that and they created this saboteurs list of that there's 10 saboteurs that all human beings, regardless of their age, their gender, where they are in the world, they all have one or two or three of these saboteurs ranking higher than other saboteurs. And then not only that, they took it one step further and said that there's one saboteur that is universal, that we all have, regardless of anything. And as a matter of fact, we develop it around the age of 5 and beyond. And that's the universal judge saboteur. We all judge. We just do. We judge ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not God. I mean, you just keeps on going. And we judge other people. Oh, you know, if this wasn't because of this person right here in my next cubicle, I would be so much better off. You know, if that person was not working in this company or didn't make this mistake or didn't deliver that project, I would be so much more successful. You know, I would be ahead of the game. Right. And then there's the third part of judge, which a lot of people ignore, and that's the judge of circumstance. You know, if it wasn't for this time, I would be so much better off. If I was, you know, I was in the wrong place in the wrong time, if I was not in that place, I would be so much better off. Okay. We all have that. And that's a universal part. So if anyone takes one thing from this podcast with me and you today, and they think of their judge within themselves, hey, our work is done. You know, we're good. I hope that they will continue, but that judge destroys so much of the good pasture that we all have within our little yard. And that I think is a gift that positive intelligence offered, and the methodologies and the backup, you know, with the app and all of that things that they offer to help you, me, your listeners overcome those judging and saboteurs. And how do you lean into what we call something that is sage, which is in my book. All the things that I talk about are all sage. The empathy, the love, the hope, you know, they're all sage. So how do you lean into the sage? And, you know, I also wholeheartedly believe that we need to have that sage. I mean, we need to have that saboteur in order to come to the sage. We need to have that thing that is a little dark in order for us to know how to create that light. And that sage is the light. And I think we have to explore that. And each one does it on their own. You know, light for me may be different than what light is for you and for the readers. So that's what I'm thinking about.
That makes good sense. So I'm thinking about the connection here, and specifically on that number 2, that movement from negative to positive. In your book and in your very personal experience, you were, in your own way, in your very personal way, you were making an active movement, an active service for yourself and for your sister to take something that was in a moment. It was a negative experience, but you were creating light, right? You were creating moments of joy, moments of positivity to offer goodness, to offer positive, to bring joy, to bring light. And then you reflected on that and then brought this book and this reflection and this other way of looking at it. And the positive intelligence, this coaching and this discipline is allowing a methodology, a science, and the science-based sort of, okay, here's a whole discipline that says, yes, what you were doing was good and right, and there's more, and there's this whole discipline around it. There's this science. Not that you stumbled on it, but you very naturally were drawn to something that is true and right and good. And and by the way, there's more.
Yes, right? You're absolutely right. Which you just touched upon something so imperative that I didn't think about it until now. When you're saying that, is that everyone has this natural strength tendencies. And mine was before I met positive intelligence, right? Before I encountered that, I had that in me. And it led me into this. So we need to be aware and cognizant of our genius zone, right? What Patrick Lencioni said, the genius zone, right?
Yep.
I call it the champion zone. We have all people calling it different things in different research. So where is it for you, for your listeners? And how do you delve into it? And not trying to become somebody else, but be you better.
Be you better, which is going to take us to number 3, the third connection here between your book and your positive intelligence coaching, which is going to have this whole idea of awareness, right? Self-awareness.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that is the bottom of the ship, right? That is when, think of the bottom of the ship and think of it as in the internal inside your stomach, right? And think of fire. So there's good fire and then there's a bad fire, right? The good fire is the energy in your gut that makes you move and do and create and bring light and warmth to everybody around you. And yet, there is another kind of fire, a negative fire, a fire that can consume you and maybe other things if you don't contain it and if you don't squash it down and if you don't stop it. That fire consumes you and everybody else around you in your vicinity. So I think of anger. I think of blame. I think of being defensive. I think about feeling a lot of shame. It burns you from the inside. So my question is, how long do you want to feel those negative feelings? How long do you want to have your hand on the hot stove, as positive intelligence tells you? And that is the connection between those two things. The awareness to say, okay, what am I learning about myself right now in this situation? And then what do I need to do to move me so I can have new learning experiences that will make me a better me? And no one is perfect. We need to say that. No one, I'm not perfect. Sinikka, you're close to perfect. You're close to perfect, but you're closer than me, maybe, right? But we're not. And we're all in this journey of getting better. And I just love your title of your podcast, right? Even better, getting better at work, at home, that better. It doesn't mean perfect. It means better. And you can only get better if you know where you are here, right? If you know where you are today and you have a really good glasses on yourself and you don't have this pink rosy covering beautiful glasses, but you have really, you know who you are. What are your things that you can be better in and allow yourself there? And I think that's the other thing that positive intelligence tells you. You are amazing the way you were born. Positive intelligence is not about changing who you are. Positive intelligence is shedding light on the way you do things, the thoughts in your mind, the behavior that you are showing, and saying, do you want that? Is that makes you happy? And that's achieving the third principle in positive intelligence, is the idea of wellness. Do you feel good? Because when you do feel good and you do have healthy relationship, then you will be successful. You will be successful. And successful, maybe we can translate as in productivity, but also in happiness.
Right.
Happiness.
And maybe it shouldn't be always in productivity as so many of us are so prone to defining it.
Yes. Right? Yes. A lot.
You said something a minute ago that really struck me. You pointed out that self-awareness is becoming aware of self, not so that I can say, aha, I am who I am, but so that I can become me, only better, right? Even better version of self. And I just really delight in that. I'm drawn to that. I think that's how I've always thought of self-awareness. And when I teach self-awareness and emotional intelligence in many of our classes as well, it's like you never get there. You never arrive at, I am as emotionally intelligent as I'll ever get, right? I've arrived at emotionally intelligent. I've arrived at self-aware. No, you arrive so that you can get better and you can keep figuring it out and you can keep improving and you can keep becoming the even better version of how you want to show up. Not so we can change our stripes, right? I don't want to change my character. I don't want to change who I was divinely created to be. I want to change how I show up so I can show up even better as who I was
Yes.
created to be.
And you know what? Every day I wake up in the morning and I have a thing that I do. I do a gratitude prayer in the morning. But then at the end of the evening, I said, what did I learn today to make my life better? What did I learn today? And if we every day learn one thing, and it could be as minute as, oh, I learned that the branches on my trees are changing colors way early this season today. I'm like, okay, I learned something. Or did I learn something? Oh, it delights me when my granddaughter calls and she makes faces at me. Something that I learned that gives me, I said, oh, I could be a better person. I will be delighted in this. So what can give you that learning that delights you? And maybe some learning would say, okay, I'm not going to do that because it didn't feel good to me, so how can I be better? And every day until the day we die, we should learn, because otherwise what's the purpose? And then here's the thing, that is how it's connected to positive intelligence yet again, because it tells us about the bottom line is find meaning and purpose in this world, in your work, in what you do, in who you are. That is the connections of the awareness between my book and positive intelligence.
Lovely. Well, I am afraid that the clock is telling us that we are out of time, although I could enjoy this conversation for much, much, much longer, Dorice. Thank you.
Thank
you
you
so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So this would not be the Even Better podcast if I did not ask my signature question. What is making you even better these days?
Even better these days is enjoying the small things in life, which I didn't used to. I always was futuristic focus, oh, when this will happen, I will be happy. This happened. And I'm learning to enjoy today more than anything, and to appreciate today more than anything, because I only know that today happens today, and not to be as focused. And I know it's really hard because we all think about the future and about what should be in our work, in our success, in our relationship, in our traveling, and I'm like, I think what makes me better today is focusing a little bit more on today.
I love that. Well, thank you again for your time, Dorice. This has been a joy.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Indeed. And for all of our listeners, thanks so much for joining us. We were here with Dorice Horenstein, and we were talking about the connections, three connections between her book, Moment of the Heart, and the positive intelligence coaching and training that she does today. So if you are just now joining in, you have missed just a wonderful, wonderful conversation. So stop here, rewind, get back to the beginning, and enjoy this wonderful time. On behalf of all of us here at Your Clear Next Step, we hope the rest of your day is even better.
Thank you for tuning in today. The Even Better podcast will be back with more content soon. But in the meantime, subscribe to our podcast or check out our website at yourclearnextstep.com for more information. See you next episode.